Hey kids, Mr. Fly here. Hope you're well. Out and about today on a bike that I've been desperate to ride for absolutely ages, ever since I first saw this in pictures about 2 years ago. And it is the immense Triumph Rocket 3. I'm a little bit late to the party, but if you're interested in this bike, stick around, stay tuned. I'll give you my first impressions review. Okay, the Triumph Rocket 3R then. What an absolutely stonking looking bike. It's a bike that I think reminds me, do you remember those that manufacturer Hot Wheels? They used to make little model cars, you know, like Matchbox and Corgi. There's one called Hot Wheels, and they used to make stuff that just looked that much more fantastical than anybody else. And if Hot Wheels made a motorcycle, it'll look like the Rocket 3. It's an amazing looking bike, this, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be riding it. I'm very lucky that I've got this bike for a week, so I'm going to get to know it quite well. But this is my second ever ride on it. The first ride was an attempt at my first impressions review, but the camera went wrong, so I've come out to do it again. So hopefully it'll be alright. It has just stopped raining actually. It's been a horrible day, it's pretty cold, and it's very wet on the road, so possibly not the best time to test ride one of the most torquey bikes you can possibly buy. This having a 2.5 litre engine in it, the biggest engine in any production motorcycle. And Triumph recently did some speed tests with it and did 0 to 60 in, I think it was something like 2.4 seconds, which made it the fastest production bike they've ever produced. So maybe not the ideal conditions to test it, but there we go. It is at least real world. These are the sort of conditions that you would ride the bike in if you're going to buy one here in Blighty. So in that respect, hopefully it'll be quite realistic. So as I say, I'm a little bit late to the party. There's been loads of reviews already of the Rocket 3 online, but this one is going to be my, you know, in my usual style. It's for the non-expert rider, for somebody that's just buying a bike, isn't a particular expert, and wants to know the practical things about the bike, the sorts of things that you maybe wouldn't just pick up in a quick test ride. So, what's the first thing you notice about the bike when you jump in? Well, rather. Well, the first thing I notice is sort of an obvious one. That's just its physical size. It is a massive machine. Cute. Now, it's very heavy as well. Something like 230 kilograms dry. I'll go through the specs when we do the walk around in the usual way. But as is the case with all these big bikes, once you get moving, that weight just completely disappears, and it also carries the weight pretty low down, so you're not aware of the weight when you're riding along. But as I say, what you are aware of is the physical size of the bike. It is massive. You've got this triple engine, 3 cylinders between your legs, so it means your knees are splayed out quite wide, and you've got these really wide handlebars as well. So everything feels very wide, and you're led slightly forward. This is the R version of the bike, which is the slightly more sporty bike, shall I say. The GT is the more touring version of the bike, where you've got the more foot forward riding position. This one, it's got mid-set pegs, which I far prefer to feet forward, and you are led a little bit forward. It's a bit more, the riding position is a little bit more like, say, a street triple that's about twice as wide as normal, is how I'd describe it. I am quite upright, there's no great pressure on my hands or anything like that. I mean, it's not sporty as in sports bike sporty, but you are canted forward a little bit, which I rather like. And your knees are at almost 90 degrees, but they're actually a little bit acuter than that, so there is a slight bend at your knees, which is quite nice as well. So yeah, overall riding position I think is pretty comfy. What else can I say? Oh, the seat actually nice and sculpted, just cups your buttocks nicely, which is always a good thing, of course, and feels quite comfy as well. Don't know how it felt on a longer run. I'll let you know once I've ridden the bike a bit more on that score. But yeah, the seat seems quite nice and comfortable. It's not, because you are leant forward slightly, it's not like other cruisers I've ridden where every bump jars right up your spine. It seems quite comfortable in that respect. I did ever sit on the pillion perch. That seemed quite hard and quite small. I'm not sure I want to put a pillion on one of these. If I was a pillion, I'd definitely get the optional backrest, which comes as standard on the GT but not on the R. But you can, everything you can get for the GT you can bolt onto the R as well, so that's pretty good stuff. Right, now of course the main feature of this bike that everybody talks about is the engine. Colossal 2.5 litre thereabouts, 3 cylinder, amazing lump. And it puts out something like 165, I say only, 165 brake horsepower. But torque wise it's in the sort of 220 newton meters of torque, and to put that into sort of perspective, a BMW R1250 GS, which is regarded as a particularly torquey bike, puts out something like 140 newton meters. So it's getting on for twice that. My 899 Panigale I think puts out 99 newton meters, so this is 2.25 times a Panigale in terms of torque. Just nuts. Unfortunately, with these wet roads, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate the torque to you because I'll just come off the bike. But trust me, when I was riding it earlier, when you wind the thing on, it just wants to rip your arms off. I mean, other reviews that you will have seen on the bike will show you what the performance is like. This is not the sort of day for trying out the performance of the Rocket 3. So from a more practical point of view, what else got to say about the bike? Well, mirrors are excellent. These bar end mirrors, Triumph have used these on various other of their bikes, including my Speed Twin. I've got exactly the same mirrors. You've got a great view out the back. They look much better than the stalky type, and they work really well like that. Switch gear is all pretty obvious. Don't like the switch gear very much on these. It's a little bit plasticky for my liking, and the thing I really don't like is the joystick that controls everything on the TFT. So while I'm on a bit of a whinge, the TFT on here is what Triumph call their second generation TFT. It's got all sorts of connectivity options, and you can do lots of things like change the theme of it to make it look different. But I still don't like the TFT on here. For my money, I'd far rather a couple of big clocks here. Again, if they just put the same ones as on the Thruxton or on the Speed Twin, I think it would look better, with maybe some LCD information as well. I understand why Triumph do it. It does give you a lot more functionality on the TFT, but I for one don't like the TFT on this style of bike. And even though this TFT is the second generation one, which means it has turn-by-turn navigation when you link it up to your phone, you can control your phone, you can even control GoPros with it. I don't think it's a very good example of a TFT, and as I say, I don't like the fiddly manner of that joystick that you use with it either. It gets in the way, that joystick, of the indicator button for me a little bit. Kind of glad I don't have that on my Speed Twin. Might just be a matter of getting used to it, but I've used similar on the big Scrambler, and I didn't get used to that after a couple of weeks either. So just a personal bugbear. Suspension on it is beautifully set up actually. It is adjustable, so you can change it as you like, and I assume this is just as it comes out of the factory, but this is a bumpy old road here. You come around these big sweepers, it just handles beautifully. And the bumps aren't so bad that, as I say, they're jarring up your back like you might expect. Busy time of day that I'm out, unfortunately. Let's just shoot past here. See you down there, lads. This is where the torque comes into its own. The bike absolutely flies. Brilliant to squirt bike with cars like that. But I'm not too much liking the looks of these wet roads, so we'll rein it back slightly. One other thing that's slightly disappointing about the bike, I guess, is the sound. It does sound lovely, but it's a pretty muted sound. It's got these amazing exhausts on here, which look incredible, particularly on the one side where you've got the three headers coming down. It's quite quiet, even compared to, again, my Speed Twin sounds much nicer. I've got the Vance and Hines pipes on that, and you can hear those popping and crackling beautifully. And that's just a 1200cc unit. This 2.5 litre unit, it has got a low rumble, but I can't really hear it. I've got my earplugs in, which may not help, but a little bit more volume I'd like for sure. Handling is lovely though. Feels way lighter than a bike weighing 1/4 of a tonne has any right to do so. Lovely jubbly. Right, brakes, front brake works beautifully well on here. It's got the Brembo Stylemas on here, which are, you know, sports bike spec brakes, and they work really well. Certainly on the front, there's nothing behind me. Let me just try the rears. Now, the rear brake on here, not that sharp to be fair, but then very few are, and this particular brake has a lot of stopping to do. Even on the rear, I think it's got a 4-pot caliper, which is incredible. I've talked a bit about the weight of the bike, but in fact, Triumph have shaved something like 40 kilograms off the weight of this over the old Rocket 3, which is another mahoosive beast. So they have made it significantly lighter. Something else I really like about the bike, just before I stop up here and do a bit of a walk around for you, is the neatness of the handlebars. They've done a great job at hiding all the cables and stuff inside the handlebars. So very neat there. There's just these main ones coming out here, but other than that, very neat looking. Clutch on here is nice and light, considering it's got such a big gearbox, I assume, on the bike. It's got a slip and assist clutch on here, so if you are ham-fisted about it, you're not going to find the back wheel lock up suddenly, or some horrendous engine braking catch you out. Triumph have done a good job of making a bike that could be a fearsome beast to ride, really easy to ride. It's not intimidating at all. That weight is low down, as I mentioned before, and then things like lean angle sensitive ABS and traction control keep all that power and torque under control. Nice low seat on it as well. I'm only a sort of a fairly medium-sized fella, medium to small I guess, 5'8", 11 stone, and I can get my feet on the deck fine, and I don't have any problem muscling the bike around. But you do have to muscle it around a bit, I guess, because of the length of the bike and the geometry, the way it's set up. You do know you're riding a cruiser, but it's nonetheless it is a nice handling beast. Alrighty, what I need to do is find myself a nice spot to do the walk around. I'll talk you through the spec in the usual way. What a great beast this is. One thing that this bike is really good at, and that is making you feel good when you ride it, and that's a pretty important thing. I'm stopped here, look, waiting for traffic. Look, I'm getting my feet flat on the deck either side, so that's easy peasy. Nothing coming. Still a little bit hesitant about really leaning the bike over on these wet roads. Right, just up here on the left is a rather posh golf course. See if I can just sneak in there and do the walk around and talk you through the spec. Hopefully nobody will mind. Here we are, Hillsborough Golf Club. Very tight turn. Yeah, maybe it's not a bike for taking on hairpins. Talking of turns, I'll just come to the car park then, turn around and come back and just see what it's like doing a feet up U-turn, as it were. Luckily I've got plenty of space here. Right, first gear, around we go. Turning circle is okay for such a big bike. It's not super tight, it has to be said, but there we go, that was a feet up U-turn, so they can be done, but you need a wider road to do it. Right, let's just pop the bike here with a nice bit of background, and I'll show you the details and talk you through the spec. Well, one thing, when I pull the brake on hard here, look, let's just pop her in neutral, which is easy to find. Pull the brake on, and it's got the hill hold assist braking on here, which works really nicely on here, so that's an excellent feature on such a heavy bike again. Alright, and this has got keyless ignition as well, so turn it off with the button, and there you go. Right, while I'm just sat on here still, one thing I don't like about the bike, I mentioned the TFT, which I'm not too keen on. I don't like this very much, this sort of faux Le Mans filler cap. It's bigger than ones on the other Triumphs, but when you lift it up, it's just, it just looks a bit cheap and nasty to me. And this is obviously the press bike that I'm riding, but this filler cap already looks sort of tarnished. I know this bike probably hasn't been particularly well looked after in its short but hard life so far, but I don't think that looks very good. Anyway, I digress. Alright, let me show you around the bike. Here she is. This is the R in red. Very dirty now. Sorry about that, Triumph. I've made your bike very dirty. But yeah, what a beast. Beautiful looking, isn't it? Alrighty, let me get the other camera out and I'll talk you through the spec in the usual way. Okay, here she is then, the Triumph Rocket 3. Let's start off with this massive engine, which is what this bike, of course, is all about. 2458cc triple engine. Triumph, of course, masters of the triple, and this the biggest of the lot, as I say, the largest production motorcycle engine in the world. Puts out 165 brake horsepower at 6,000 RPM, and as I mentioned, Triumph recently did a 0 to 60 test on this and got 0 to 60 in 2.73 seconds, making it the fastest production bike they've ever made. 221 newton meters of torque, as I say, compared to a GS 1250, that puts out 143 newton meters. So this, and that's a torquey bike, so this is 80 newton meters more than a GS 1250. Incredible. Brakes on here, I mentioned it's got the Stylemas, they're sort of sports bike spec calipers, I should say. There we go, 4-pot calipers on there on a 320mm disc. At the back, it's such a heavy old beast, we've got 4-pot calipers on the back as well, also from Brembo, but as I mentioned, they don't feel that great, and at the back it's very dirty at the moment. I do apologise there, Triumph, but you can see the shaft drive there as well. Suspension wise, massive forks at the front. These are 47mm upside down shower forks on here, and they're adjustable as well. You can see the adjusters on the top here, either side, in the usual manner. And on the rear it's got an adjustable shower suspension as well. It's got 170mm of travel on the rear and 120mm of travel on the front, if that's important to you. The seat height on here, very, very friendly seat, comfortable as well, 773mm. I can get my feet flat on the deck. The rear one, not quite so comfortable, small pad for the pillion. I did sit on that earlier, seemed a little bit hard, and I think, as I say, I'd definitely have the backrest if I was going to take a pillion on this. You'd have to be quite brave to be a pillion on one of these, I think. Weight wise, dry weight 291 kilograms. Sounds heavy, and it is, but again, once you get moving, doesn't feel heavy at all. If you compare it to something like the X Diablo, which is a competitor to this, that's 247 kilograms wet, so a lot lighter. As I say, this is 291 kilograms dry, so over 300 when wet. Tank capacity on this, the tank on here looks massive, but actually only holds 18 litres, which is a bit disappointing. Not much for such a big engine. Triumph say you'll get 41.4 miles per gallon out of it, but at the moment this bike's doing, according to the trip meter on it, about 30 miles per gallon, so you're not going to get much of a range. The range on this one, it's saying from a full tank 130 miles, so you're going to be stopping at the fuel station quite a lot, but I guess that's probably not an issue if you're going to buy one of these bikes. Electronics wise, it's got that second generation TFT I mentioned, cornering ABS and traction control, integrated GoPro controls, integrated phone controls, turn-by-turn sat-nav. It's got, what is good actually, is as standard on both the R and the GT, it's got a cruise control. Glad to see that. What it doesn't have as standard though is heated grips, although you can get them as an option on the R. I think it's standard on the GT. It's got optional tyre pressure monitoring, optional shift assist, up and down quick shifter, which would be nice on this bike actually. It's got a charging port, and basically it's laden with electronics. Price wise, the R, this one, is £19,500. The GT, the more touring focused one, is $20,200, so take your pick. As I say, all the accessories are interchangeable between the two bikes as well, so you can sort of almost build one to your own spec if you like. What else to say? I think that's pretty much it. Let me just show you a couple more details. I'm sorry it's so dirty because it's such a wet, horrible day, but things like the wheel on this is just beautiful, particularly when it's clean, as is this lovely exhaust pipe on this side. A lot of the time you don't see the other side of the bike because it's so attractive there with the pipes, but even on this side without the pipes I still think it looks amazing. And of course you get to see the shaft drive as well, which is a great feature. No issues on this bike with chain maintenance. Alrighty, so much for that then. Let's jump on and try on some different sorts of roads. Alright, now it has got keyless ignition on here, so to bring it alive I think you have to press this button again here, like so. Brings everything up to snuff there. And then, as with all Triumphs, clutch in, press the start button. Alrighty, okay, nothing around. Right, let's go and find some different sorts of roads. See if we can get to slightly faster roads, see what it's like in terms of weather protection off the front of this bike. And also, we'll head through the town of Wendover just down here. Don't know if there'll be any traffic much about. Bit of way I hope there is, just to see what it's like in amongst traffic and slower speed handling. Stick around, stay tuned. So it would be interesting at some point if I can maybe get a ride on the GT version of the bike, the feet forward version, just to see how that compares. I think if I were to get one I would definitely go for the mid-set pegs. It's more me. It doesn't feel so much like a cruiser bike in this position. It's a much more familiar position to me. When I jump on I instantly find the pegs. I found when I've ridden other cruisers I jump on and my feet are flailing around trying to look for where the pegs have to go, or where your feet go on the pegs I should say. Not so on this. So I mentioned I'm not a big fan of the TFT, and I'm not too keen on the way you control the functions of it as well with this little joystick arrangement here. I find it gets in the way of the indicator. I had the same issue when I had the big Triumph Scrambler 1200, which has a similar setup. You may well get used to it after a while, although I never did with the Scrambler. I occasionally would hit the joystick instead of the indicator and vice versa, which was a bit annoying. That front brake on here is absolutely amazing, given it is stopping such a big old lump. That's turned out nice today. It's a cold day, it's only about 10 degrees, something like that, and it's knocking off time, so there is plenty of traffic about, so it's quite useful just to see what the bike's like in traffic. Of course this incredibly torquey engine means you can be really lazy with it and basically stick it in any gear you like and she'll pull away. And what with all the technology, traction control and the slip assist clutch etc, you can ride it in a fairly ham-fisted way and get away with it. It doesn't punish you. Hopefully I'm not talking anything up, but that seems to be how it works. And so here we are in a little queue of traffic. Look, we're just doing 7 miles an hour, something like that. Nice and easy to balance this bike. Look at that, I'm now doing 2 miles now. Still haven't got my feet on the deck. Easy to balance, and at slow speeds there's no jerkiness on the throttle or anything like that. Very, very easy indeed. Nice to see a bit of sunshine. Alright, what we'll do then, we'll get out of Wendover, and around the corner we'll head onto the Wendover bypass. A bit of a faster road, and it'll be a bit more representative of what it's like to be on, say, a motorway, something like that. We'll see what this bike's like in terms of its wind protection. And just for a change, look, we've got a blue van today. Luckily it's turning off. It's a Movano, a Vauxhall Movano. Not something we see very often on the Missenden Flyer, but a nice addition to the catalogue. It's rather a shame I'm borrowing this bike in the depths of the British winter rather than summertime. It'd be lovely to try on a dry day. Right, police speed check area, it says there. What am I doing? 40 and it's 30, so let's slow down a bit. Having ridden this bike today for probably a couple of hours, it's interesting, this seating position. I'm not sure it would be that comfortable if you were touring. It's more comfortable than the X Diavel that I recently borrowed, because that you're a bit more upright, and every bump you felt through your spine. You don't get this on this bike because you're leant forward a bit, so that's a plus point. But I'm not convinced it's a really comfortable position for many hours in the saddle, but we'll see. I'm pleased to say that thanks to Triumph UK I have got this bike for the week, so I'm going to ride it as much as I possibly can. So if you're interested in this machine, do stick around to the channel. There's going to be more videos to come, including at the end of the period I'll give you my lessons learned video. Everything that I can find out about the bike that you might need to know, that you may not pick up if you just had like a 1 hour test ride. So I'll give you the warts and all then when I've learned more about her. In the meantime, I'm going to come up here and take a left and get onto the what's called the Wendover bypass. We can just see what she's like at higher speed in terms of wind protection. The bike's got riding modes, by the way. I've got it in road mode at the moment, but it's got rain, road and a faster mode. I can't remember what it's called. And it's got a custom mode as well, so 4 riding modes if you like. Rain, road and sport, I think it is. Alrighty, how are we looking here then? Nice wide bit of road this, so I should be able to overtake, but make sure it's clear. Alrighty, 70 miles an hour though now, so motorway type speeds, I have to say, from a wind buffet point of view, seems pretty good. Nice and protected low down, this massive frontal area keeping my knees and legs and lower half nice and calm. I've got the wind hitting me around about here, as you can possibly see from my jacket, so I'm in the wind blast torso up. But it's relatively smooth airflow, it's not turbulent, so I think you could ride on a motorway perfectly happily at these sorts of speeds. Of course, if you go silly speeds, then you're going to really be hanging on, but yeah, not too bad from a wind and weather protection point of view. It's just lovely having all this excessive power, you know, you can squirt by anything at any time, even in 6th there, accelerated away with just no issue whatsoever. Nice and agile through these corners. It does sound nice, this triple, just not perhaps quite loud enough, but there you go, can't have everything. Oh, didn't nod at him, sorry sir. Quite too late. Do apologise. Alright, so I'm making my way back home now towards Great Missenden. That's pretty much it for my first impressions review. So what's my summary? What are the stick in the mind things about the bike? Well, first thing is, it's just a big bike. I mean, it feels like a big bike. Not so much from a weight point of view, just its physical dimensions. Very wide handlebars, wide legs, a lot of length to the bike, so it's big. It would suit a big person. Then of course that engine with its acceleration goes without saying, it's brilliant. And it just makes you feel good as well. Handles nice, completely non-intimidating for such a powerful bike. So looking forward to riding it some more and getting to know it some more. So as I say, stick around to the channel for more vids on the Rocket 3 if you're interested. And if this is the first time you've seen one of my videos, thanks very much for watching. Don't just do bike reviews here on the Missenden Flyer, but I do all sorts of stuff. I do stuff in the garage about how to look after your bike. I do tours at home and abroad. I do the odd live stream. I do a monthly bike news feature. Basically anything and everything, I try and cover it here on the Missenden Flyer if it's to do with motorcycles. It'd be great to have you join me again. If you've not done so already, hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell, that way you won't miss my next video. Alrighty, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed that. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mr. Fly. Cheerio.